Welcome to the Vin Armani Show. We are streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Vin Armani. Also on Twitter and Periscope. At Vin Armani is my handle there. We are proud members of the Activist Post Podcast Network, so you can check out all of our audio archives by visiting activistpost.com. Well, it's 10 a.m. here in fabulous Las Vegas. We are coming to you today with an exciting show for me, because I have a lot to talk about today. I just got back from New Hampshire from Liberty Forum, where I had an absolute blast. Was speaking there and was super welcomed by all the people there. And I also announced that I am going to be moving to New Hampshire to take up the cause of liberty from there as a home base. Also, exciting week for me and for the Bitcoin Cash community, because we launched the private beta of what we've been calling our Bitcoin Cash secret project, Cointext, and the buzz has been way beyond anything that we thought, and the usage already has been way beyond anything that I could have imagined. So we're going to talk about those things. Our guest today is, I think it fits right in line. It's that crossroads between entrepreneurship and liberty. Our guest is the founder and CEO of a really, really cool project and company called Praxis. His name is Isaac Morehouse. Praxis is I'll let him do the whole breakdown, but what I could say is that I think it's a new vision of education, particularly for people who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs, which up until now, there's really no way to teach somebody how to be an entrepreneur. You could maybe go and get an MBA, but most people do that after they've already had some successful businesses. This is for young people. God, I wish this would have been around. Wish this would have been around when I was younger, because this is exactly what I would have done instead of going to college, and I had a full ride. So obviously it's well worth it. To help us get through all of these things today, as always, my good friend, co-host, and producer, Mr. Christian Reyes. Christian.
Good morning, Vin.
Good morning, sir. So New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's exciting, dude.
I'm going there.
Congratulations.
Well, I had been mulling it over, right? I had been mulling it over. I definitely, I love Vegas. I actually really do love Vegas. A lot of people are like, yeah, Vegas, this or that, but it's like, it does fit my personality very, very well. And to the maximum degree, I feel like I have personal liberty here to a great degree. I've organized my life in a way that it's very free. But the ability there's not really a big liberty community here.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know that they do, what is it? Freedom Fest is here. But that's even more like a kind of a Republican thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
There isn't really a big liberty community here. The laws in Nevada are changing, certainly. I think that it's getting less and less laissez-faire, less and less free, and particularly in Las Vegas, like, I'm somebody who predicts trends, and like,
right.
We've got a professional NHL team now. They're building the stadium for the Raiders. Like, the things that start to happen when a city reaches that level, the level of corruption that's possible,
right.
Things just change. And the casinos are already very corporate.
Yeah.
And that's changed the landscape as well, and they're locking down even more and more. So yeah, so I had been mulling a change. I'm certainly never going back to live in California. That's just holy shit, dude. And so I had thought maybe moving up north to Reno. Last Tuesday, I went up there for a invite-only blockchain conference. So I had the weird juxtaposition of Tuesday being up in Reno, and we had covered the sort of cryptocurrency laws and blockchain laws here in Nevada, and then in Massachusetts, not in Massachusetts, in New Hampshire, right? And so it was interesting seeing coming from the two different sides, where the push up in Reno is definitely like, well, it's to open up, for government to open up pockets for industry and entrepreneurs to come in so that they can increase the tax base so that they can tax the people. Whereas in New Hampshire, it's opening those spaces up because it's the ethical thing to do based on libertarian principles.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So while it would benefit me certainly continuing on with the blockchain projects as I'm doing and as an advocate of that, to move up to Reno, and Reno's actually really cool now.
Yeah, it's cool, dude.
Like, it's become very hip. If people haven't visited Reno and you get a chance, I mean, it's right there by Tahoe. Give it it's cool. I started going up there a couple years ago, and it's just like cool little bars and restaurants, and it's got this sort of like mountain town vibe. It's kind of like if you took, let's say, I don't want to say Denver because Denver's already too big, but it's kind of like if you took one of the sort of mountain resort towns in Colorado and you like because it's got that mountain, because it's in the mountains, it's got that mountain vibe and feel, and then you smashed it in with Las Vegas.
Yeah,
right? Because you've got the casinos, the gambling, all that.
It's definitely a cool city. It's almost like a smaller version of, like you said, a mix Las Vegas, and it's got some culture too, which was interesting looking back at. I think Las Vegas is getting or has gotten a little bit more culture, but what was cool about Vegas before was like it had no culture, and that was the culture.
Right. That it was like, it was so transient. So yeah, I had been thinking about that, and then I had gone up for Pork Fest, and then I went up for Free Coast Fest, but those were both in like, one was in June, one was in September. The weather was pretty good, and I was like, I'm really thinking about this New Hampshire thing, and I told a few people and told a few friends and was really considering it, and I was like, okay, the last thing is, though, I'm going to go in February and see just how bad this winter is. And to be honest, not that bad. Like, I'm used to going to Chicago in the winter to visit my brother, or at least not even the full blast winter. And it was like February in New Hampshire was warmer than like first day of December in Chicago. Chicago's brutal, dude. But like, that's what I was expecting. I was expecting to go out and it was like bone chilling cold.
Yeah,
I was like, oh no, this is actually not too bad at all in Manchester. And it's even warmer once you get closer to the coast. So I was like, okay, I could do this. So I announced at Liberty Forum that I'm going to be moving out there. So in the springtime, move out there. So we're going to figure out the show situation. We can definitely do it remotely. If you happen to move out there, that's even better.
I'm definitely considering because the thing that was kind of keeping me here was definitely the show in Vegas, and I was already like, maybe I want to move out of Vegas here shortly. So
well, you've been here a long time.
Yeah,
you've been here a long time.
Vegas
change is good.
It's cool, but it just like anywhere else, you want to relocate and start something new.
Well, and it's one thing to do this, to pursue the cause of liberty online. And I do think that it's very, very important. And it's the reason why I think the libertarian movement is moving forward is in big part due to social media and people being able to communicate and feeling like, because I think people who find these ideas are often feel like they're very alone in the outside world, right? And that can be frustrating. Like you walk outside and you're like, oh, it's just like status everywhere. Status gonna state, man. And it's like, my roads is just nonstop. And so, you connect and click up with the community of people online, and you listen to podcasts and you find other people digitally. But it's a whole different scenario to be surrounded by hundreds of people who not only believe in the same principles that you believe in, of individual liberty, of free markets, of the non-aggression principle, right? Like, and that's what's so interesting is that, especially in New Hampshire, like you go to an event like this and it's like, it's the real embodiment of the ideal. So it's like, the most peaceful, kind people you could possibly imagine who believe in the non-aggression principle, but who also believe in individual liberty. So like Every other person is packing a gun. Some of them out where you could see, some of them concealed, because you can conceal carry there with no permit because it's constitutional carry, right? So it's like, but yet you're like, yeah, and I totally feel safe.
That's cool.
I totally feel safe in this environment. And you think like, oh, on a broader scale, what a cool, you get to see a microcosm there of what a community like this can actually look like, what it can accomplish, which is another thing that like these events are well-oiled machines.
Yeah.
Because you've got all these people who are entrepreneurs. Like everybody running these things and involved with these things are all entrepreneurs.
Man.
And so it's like, oh wow, yeah, like this shit works.
Yeah.
Like this actually works. I've got some pictures from up there. Why don't you throw on some of these slides? I think there's a couple of slides. Oh. Yep, this is my talk. So I gave a 25-minute talk, then I gave an hour-long talk, and then I did a dinner and a podcast panel. And I'm going to put this talk up. There was someone there who was filming. This is the first talk, the 25-minute. There was someone there who was filming to actually make like a full-blast film about Liberty Forum. And so they recorded multiple cameras on all the talks. So I'm going to wait on the other things to put them up, but I've got a recording of this that's a pretty good cell phone recording. So I'm going to look over that today, and if it's good enough, I'll stick it up on the YouTube for people to check out. This was a very, very well-received talk. Okay, go to the next one. Then I did a podcasting panel with Lou Perez, obviously Jack Spirko. That's Christine Butler, who's the event coordinator for this thing, and myself. Got a chance to bust out the sweaters on this trip, which I really, really enjoyed, because it's hard to do here. It's rarely sweater weather here. And then is there anything else? Oh, well, this was what was so cool, dude. So they had this like little vendor expo, right?
Yeah.
Where vendors were there. Everybody took cryptocurrency. There was a big crypto contingent there, and a lot of talks about cryptocurrency as well, sponsored by Dash. Dash was giving away $20 in Dash to anybody who just came up. If you would put the Dash wallet on your phone, they'd give you $20 in Dash, and then everybody around was accepting Dash.
There you go.
There was a Monero ATM in the exhibit hall.
Nice.
Like it was just crypto was everywhere. And when Rachel Goldsmith, who we had on the show before, you can come back to us. I think that was the last one.
Yep.
When Rachel Goldsmith, who we had on the show, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, right? Executive director of the Free State Project. When she got up and did her State of the Free State, like she was like, "This is it. We're the front lines.
Yeah.
We're the tip of the spear of the crypto revolution because we've been about it since the beginning." And
for the right reasons.
Exactly. So tons of crypto people there. Ran into Chris Pacia, who was there. Open Bazaar.
Nice.
So there was just it was fantastic. I had a very good time, and I got a chance to onboard and show off to some people the other thing that was released this week, which is Cointext. So that's what we had been talking about as the sort of secret project. And dude, it went beyond anything that
It's been crazy on Twitter. I mean,
I was shocked. So basically, here's what happened. Cointext. What is Cointext? It is an SMS-based. It's an SMS-based wallet. Right? It's a wallet that enables you. It's a Bitcoin Cash wallet that enables you to do all the things that basically like your Jax wallet does, right? So you can check your balance, you can send to any other phone number in the world, and you can also send by using the command withdraw to any Bitcoin Cash address as well. Right, so you use it like in a traditional way. Now, what's unique about this is that you don't need to set anything up. You don't need to download any apps. You don't need to do anything like that. So the the technology, so if you imagine this, like when you get let's use Jax as an example, because it seems like almost everybody's using Jax wallet. That seems like to be the industry standard. But pretty much whatever wallet that you use, you're going to get like a backup phrase, right? Now your backup phrase is unique to my backup phrase to somebody else's. The way that those are generated is that it's basically a random number generator that uses a high level of what's called entropy, which is basically like a high level of randomness, so that the chances of there being what's called a collision, so the chances of me getting the same 12 number or 12 word backup phrase, the mnemonic seed, the chances of me getting the same 12 words that you get or that any other person on the planet gets is so low as to be infinitesimal, right? Because the random number generator, the entropy is it's such a large number set, essentially, right? And we can mathematically show this. So that's what you would call the seed. So from that seed it's basically that seed is considered a sort of unique identifier.
Gotcha.
It's then thrown through an algorithm, and being thrown through that algorithm out on the other side, you're able to pop out private key pairs, private keys and public keys. Okay. So the key is, in order to have a system that works, the whole idea behind it is you need to have a seed that guarantees that there isn't what's called a collision, which means that your seed and my seed are the same. That's called a collision, right? Where two of them are the same. That's obviously a problem for security. So that means the randomness for creating it, all of the algorithms that you have behind it, all of that. So I had been thinking for a long time, in understanding this concept, I'd been thinking for a long time that it's almost guaranteed. So what you want is something where there's no collision.
Yeah.
Anytime that you have a seed where you can guarantee there's not going to be a collision, that's valid to use in a system. So have you ever seen the Justin Timberlake movie? I think it's called In Time?
No.
Or Nick of Time? It's not Nick of Time. I think it's called In Time. Well, in that, they have everybody built into them is born with a certain set amount of time. And when the time goes all the way down on their arm, they die. But you can also trade time to people as money. So time is money, literally. Right? So you're born with a specific amount of time, and you can trade away time for food and whatever. So the richest people are basically immortal. They're just going to live forever. Right? It's an interesting kind of concept. But looking at that and seeing, I've been thinking for a long time, for years, since I first got involved with cryptocurrency, that I was like, well, clearly the future is going to be hashing people's DNA. Because if my DNA is truly unique, or my iris or whatever, if there's some biometric that's truly unique about me, or some set of biometrics, I don't even need to have a private key, right? Because I'm walking around with my backup phrase.
Right.
I step up to something, it reads my thing, and then it throws that through an algorithm. Here's your address. It can sign a transaction. It can do all of this. So I'm basically, if I have a unique identifier that can be biometrically pulled from me, I'm walking around with a private key all the time, or many private keys, right? For an HD wallet. Well, we all happen to be walking around with a unique identifier on us at all times, where there's functionally guaranteed no collisions. That is, if I put your phone number into my phone anywhere in the world, right? So in this country, I don't have to put the +1 or whatever.
Right.
But if I'm in another country and I have international calling and I put +1, your phone number here in the US, and I go like this, there is no chance that the phone that rings is going to be any other phone than your phone. You might not pick up, right? But it's you might not be in a signal area, but it's never going to ring another phone. And we take that for granted.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't even think about that. Until
we don't even think about the idea that oh wow, we already have a system in place that basically functions as a zero collision system of unique identifiers that we walk around with and we're in control of. So that's it. It's already there. So basically that's how this whole thing operates, is that your SMS, or you send an SMS, your number recognized and brought in by the system. So like it's connected with the tier 1 SMS API, so connected with the phone company, gets all the information that the phone company has, so it knows exactly what the originating number is, and then can send to another number. That's a unique identifier. We use that to, on the fly, to generate a key pair. Then we can tell you your balance. We can sign a transaction. We can, those are basically the two things that you would need to do with the key pair. Or we can send out to another. So basically every phone number is also an address, so we can send and settle on chain. So that's how this whole thing works, and that's how we're able to do it. First off, some people have asked, are you storing people's funds? No, we have no need to store people's funds. And people can look, because you can check it on chain, right? So you can literally be like, I can be like, send $2. Well, let's show what it looks like. Pull this thing up. So I can do this. I can do send $1, put in the phone number, and then it'll send. Now, if I type in deposit, which that's not what's next, but there's several commands. If I type in the deposit command, it'll actually tell me the address that's associated with my number. So I can go and explore on the blockchain, and I can watch that transaction actually take place.
Amazing.
Completely out there, completely in the public, completely third-party verifiable, that it moves from that address to another. Now, you can come back to us. We'll go through the slides in a minute, because I just want to explain, because there have been some people who were like, for me, and I guess I in some ways in coding this, I guess I suffer a little bit from the curse of knowledge in a way, right? Because I've been working with mobile platforms for at least 10 years now. And it's been a huge part of my development career, particularly in getting media to mobile platforms. And then, it's been, 2012 getting involved with Bitcoin, and then the last 3 years developing and, putting these libraries away and putting together cool things. I guess I suffer a little bit from the curse of knowledge in a way, because to me, this seemed stupid obvious from the beginning. And I was surprised that this hadn't been done. But the thing is, settling on chain means we don't even have to have a database on there. We store nothing. So there's several reasons. One, there's no business reason to do it. So our business model, we have further steps to do merchant solutions, to do ATMs, to do all kinds of cool things that are in the white paper that people can go and check out at cointext.io. The site's up, the white paper's up as well, and people can join the public beta. They can apply to join the public beta, which is coming out in March, right? It was only counter market subscribers who were able to play around in the private beta.
They loved it, dude.
Well, but now what they did was, so only those 100 people that we basically onboarded, it's now in the thousands of people, because they've all started onboarding other people, which is cool.
It moved quick.
Right? So our business model is essentially, you are paying us a small fee, which is 3 cents for every transaction that you do, and that's only on the send or withdraw. You don't pay when you ask for your balance. You don't pay when you ask for help or anything like that. If you actually send somebody else money, or you send it either to a phone number or you send it to an address, if the amount you sent is under $12 US, we take 3 cents, the equivalent in Bitcoin Cash of 3 cents US. And if it's over, it's 0.25%. That's not 25%. That's 0.25%. So that means if you send $100, we take a fee of 25 cents. And the great thing about the blockchain and the great thing about Bitcoin is that that's all in one transaction. So both the money that you send, also in the transactions of 25 cents, they're both signed, they're both sent out at one time. So in that case, what we do is we, on the fly, with that number, we run it through, we get the key pair, we sign the transaction, we destroy the key pair. One, for plain up, straight up security reasons.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't want anybody else to ever get a hold of that. Two, there's no reason for us to hold it. Having a whole database structure is just another point of failure. If you don't need it, don't add in a database. So we don't even have a database. This thing doesn't even have a database. Don't keep logs, any of that. So there's that reason. There's no financial reason for us to do it. It doesn't make the process any faster. We don't make any money off of it. We never hold anybody's funds. It's a non-custodial wallet. This is not off-chain. This is on-chain. Every transaction happens on-chain. The third thing, and this is also a very, very important thing, and it's a legal and regulatory reason. So the U.S. Treasury Department, the financial crimes enforcement side of it, they are in charge of, we've talked on this show a lot about money service business laws.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this is something that, I've been talking about this, researching this, and writing about this. Quite a few articles in Counter Markets about these laws, detailing these laws and how they work. So, specifically dealing with exchanges. But there's a piece of that's money transmitters, right? Money transmitters need to register with the federal government, and they need to follow certain sets of regulations, accounting. They need to open their books to the government, all of that, right? But they've already ruled, FinCEN has already ruled when it comes to money transmitters that if you are just a provider of services for the transmission of money, either network services, communication services, etc., if you don't hold any of the other party's money and you can't control any of the other party's money, you're exempt from the regulation.
Nice.
Right? So, one, if we hold somebody's funds, we're potentially operating as an illegal money service business. Two, if we hold private keys, which would potentially allow us to access somebody else's funds, that's actually the equivalent of being in a custodian of those funds. We're potentially operating as a money transmitter, and if we're not registered, as an unregistered money service business. Why wouldn't we want to do that? Because registering as operating as an unregistered money service business has been one of the ways that they have arrested people, particularly the ones doing hand-to-hand crypto exchanges, and the penalty is 5 years in prison. 5 years in federal prison and some serious fines. So we can operate completely legally and completely fine so long as we don't hold anybody's money ever, and we don't hold private keys ever, and we don't keep transaction logs. All of those things is actually what's keeping us safe and keeping us out of regulatory hot water and keeping us out of criminal hot water, and we built the system in order to do that. And FinCEN has ruled repeatedly and clearly, even about cryptocurrency, that is the case, that so long as you operate as just a provider of network services and communication services. So that's all we do. It's communication services. We'll sign a transaction. We'll read the blockchain and tell you your balance. That's it. That's all we do.
That's it.
So there have been a lot of people asking about that. It's a new concept, I think, for people. It's funny because I think when people first see this, they're like, because it doesn't seem sexy, right? The idea of SMS, the idea of this old technology, text message, right? And there's questions about like, well, how private could this thing be?
Yeah,
well, it's as private as you want it to be, right? It's connected to a phone number. Now, if your phone number is connected to your name, and you're doing transactions that you don't want to be, sure, maybe if the NSA was really after you, I don't think you for your particular, unless you're doing something where the NSA or the FBI or something would be like, give us all the records. This wallet's not made for that. You know, and especially for the international people, it's like, you know, are they really doing that in Zimbabwe? You know what I'm saying? Are they really doing that in Ethiopia? And I say that because, as you're going to see, this is already in those countries, right? Well, the second thing is you can just as easily go and get a prepaid clam phone, because it works on feature phones, because it's SMS.
Crazy.
Any phone that can send a text message. You don't even need a smartphone. You don't even need
internet connection.
You don't even need an internet connection. You don't even need to be connected to the internet. You don't even need an internet plan. You just need a texting plan.
This is it's actually, you say it's not sexy because it's SMS related, but what makes it sexy or brilliant is the fact that it's a combination of the two extremely brand new technology, high tech stuff with the low tech, like old technology. And actually, like, I learned this principle when I was working with cocktails, taking the classic and turning it into something that is this new idea, new technology or whatever it is, new cocktail. You would take this beautiful classic cocktail like the Manhattan, and you would turn it into something that's brand new.
Well, there's a reason. There's a very good reason for that, right? And it's the process of evolution. So nature is conservative,
right?
And the evolutionary process is conservative. It does not like to drop things it adds incrementally, but it likes to keep the things that work.
Right.
The shit that works fucking stays.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so with the cocktails is a prime example. It's like people have been making this cocktail for 50 years and people have been ordering the old fashioned, the Manhattan, the Cosmopolitan. You know what I'm saying?
It's classic.
The martini. You're not going to open a bar and be a bartender and not know how to make a good martini.
Seriously.
You better have a good martini because people are going to order it. You know, the old fashioned is coming back in, and it's like, I can tell you can really judge the quality of a bar and the bartenders. Just order an old fashioned.
Yeah.
Just order an old fashioned. See how it's put together. See how it tastes. And that's all you need to know about whether or not the bar is any good. Seriously. Seriously, because as you say, can you do the classics though? I know you could do all these crazy things, but can you do the fucking classics?
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Right? And SMS, if you think about it, people are like, SMS is insecure, SMS is insecure. That has been something people have been saying, and it's like, insecure compared to what? Like, insecure compared to what? Do you have any thought when you send out a text message that it's ever going to go to a phone other than the one you sent it to? Any thought? Do you have any thought that if someone sends you a text message that it will not show up on your phone? Like, has there ever been a time when someone has shown you their phone and there's a legit, not that it says like did not send because they were out of like range, and they were like, no dude, I really texted you, look. And you're like, oh. Even emails I've had where people were like, I sent you this email, and it's like, oh, I don't know where it's in the spam folder. Right, it's like, what does your version of security mean? Like, this is a platform that is tried and true and fucking bulletproof.
Yeah.
It's so bulletproof, we just take it for granted. Other thing about it is instant.
Oh.
It's so, the network to move an SMS across the world is so fast. It's so fucking fast, which shows as people started playing around with this thing. And I want to shout them out because I want to give them some positive reinforcement to keep doing what they're doing. And it seems like there's so many Australians. Australians are an interesting people when it comes to liberty, I think, and when it comes to these ideas. They live in a not very free country, to be honest, when it comes to liberty, freedom of speech and stuff like that. They've never had a big history of liberty. I mean, it was a prison colony to start out with, right? It didn't start out very free. And they're still, I guess technically the head of state there is still the Queen of England, head of state of Australia. They have a prime minister. They don't have a president.
Weird.
Yeah. She's the head of state, which is true in Canada too, by the way. A lot of people don't realize that. Technically, those are still, British Commonwealths. But they love the show. Like, they way are overrepresented in terms of our show fans, in terms of the people that interact. They're way overrepresented in terms of the people involved in cryptocurrency. Craig Wright's an Australian. And I wonder what that's all about. But they picked this tool up, and boy, some of the Australian people started, let's go. Let's check some of these out. Because a couple of these guys were just like, all right, mate, we're just going to try to break it. You know what I mean? Like, go for it, guys. Like, do it. So let's check this out. Keep going. So this was, so this came in. This is for CryptoKid. I received my first BCH transfer via SMS tonight, offline, not even connected to the internet. Very rad. Then sent some to at Cosiism in Australia via text. Sending, and look at the amount. Sending 1 penny.
Crazy. Send
1 penny or $1 million, but it's like one. So these guys were sending. So what we've done with the Cointext, we've got a faucet. So we're giving people, as we onboard in the beta, we're giving them $1 worth of Bitcoin Cash, and these guys have taken it up and they're like, well, I got the free $1. I'm going to test this thing. Sending pennies to people all over the world. So. This guy, at Mad in Melbourne, I'm assuming it's a guy, it could be a woman, has just been sending it everywhere. And I wish I could find this list, but the list was crazy. The list was like, where were some places in Eastern Serbia, Saudi Arabia. I want to say Nigeria.
Yeah, Nigeria for sure.
South Korea. Somebody said China. India. These things have been sent all over the place. Brazil was on there. This one is Australia to South Africa. Bitcoin Cash micro transfer with Cointext. Instant via SMS. No internet required, no Wi-Fi, just a phone. Anytime, any phone, any time of the year, any time of day, year, 24/7, zero permission required. We got another one on here. Australia to Ethiopia. Awesome. This one. Ethiopia using Cointext. The economy just tilted. Playing field leveled. Game on. Now, mind you, the most important part about this is they're sending these without anybody ever having to download an app or anything. Like, that's the coolest thing as I talk to people, is that I'm like, I even had this occur where somebody was like, oh, I'm not really big on this cryptocurrency. Like, so how do I get some Bitcoin? And I was like, what's your phone number?
Yep.
Literally, hold my beer. Boom. What? And I'm like, yes. Now send it to her over there. Shh, boop. Hey, check your phone. Wait, what is this? And it's like, it's there. It's in that address. If they have a Jax wallet, they can send it on. If it'll give them their address that they can go from another wallet and put it in there. Right? So you can immediately, you type deposit. And it'll show you your address. You can go into your hot wallet and you can say, okay, send $20 into this address. And then when you go back to your SMS and you type in balance, boom, it's right there.
I was doing that a couple times too, to show people, like, because one of the beauties about cryptocurrency is learning about, like, getting involved and learning about it. And when you get the Cointext onboarding, you don't necessarily go through that at first, but then it was like, whoa. And then you can start telling,
Well, what I always say is possession is 9/10 of the law, right? And if you want to, that is a tool of onboarding, right? It's like when you go, we have a ton of them here, but they're in every, like, sort of major metro. For some reason, especially in the higher end malls and shopping districts, there's like these Israeli companies that have basically taken over the kiosk business, like, that are selling you little, like, tchotchkes for your phone, lotions and all, and they're way overpriced. Yeah. It's like, excuse me, sir, excuse me. Yeah. They're super aggressive.
They're good salesmen too.
They're very good. But what do they always try to do? Put it in your hand.
Yeah, because once you
hold it, the chances of you buying goes way through the roof.
Right. And I think you brought this up on a show where your first experience with Uber, where you didn't know anything about it. you got on the Uber and you're like, wait a minute, I need to learn more about this. How did you do that? And
Right.
it's kind of that process too.
Well, yeah, and it was a guy that like just happened to like be in a bar that I was at drinking, and we're both kind of hollering at the bartender. He knew her. And then we just started talking with each other, and we had a ton of shit in common. And then he was like, hey, man, some of my friends, I was at the Riot Hyatt on Sunset Strip, and I don't know, I was in seeing a client or something, and he was like, hey, man, a couple of friends of mine are at this club over here. You want to go over there? I'm like, yeah, dude, but I'm sauced. I can't drive. Are you driving? Like, you look drunk, too. And he's like, no, we're going to Uber. I'm like, what the hell is that? And he's like, walk with me outside. Let's go. And then, he's showing me on the phone everything that's happening. And then when we got in the car and the whole thing went through and we got out, and I was like, I went for my wallet to tip the guy, and he's like, no, man, you don't need to tip. And I was like, okay, where do I get the app? Like,
Right, yeah.
I was signed up. I had signed myself up before we got to the front of the line of this club to go in.
And that's the beauty of it. I think people get lost a little bit when it comes to, like, if you're not physically holding it, if you're not having the funds in your phone and your wallet already, you kind of get lost and like, oh, maybe that's a little bit too complicated for me to learn.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, if you really want to onboard somebody, send them enough money that it's spendable.
Right.
Like sending 1 cent to somebody somewhere is good, but if you really want to onboard grandma, send her $20.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
that's cool, man. That's
So very, very proud of this. Go back. I think there may have been
yeah, there was one more.
one more. Yeah, let's just flow through. What was the last one?
That one.
Oh, yeah, so another Australian. So this is cool. So I just wanted to, Drew Flaum, at Drew, P-F-L-A-U-M. It looks like they're doing a Bitcoin Cash meetup in Perth. So more Australians. And this is the inaugural Bitcoin Cash meetup in Perth. So he says, come join us next Saturday, 17th of February. Wait, 17th of February. Is that next Saturday? Did I get these dates wrong? What's the date? Oh, it's the 12th. Yeah. Next Saturday, 17th of February, dude. The traveling of the dates is all jacked up. 17th of February for the inaugural Bitcoin Cash in Perth meetup. Game-changing project discussion. They are going to talk about Cointext there. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Drew and the people in Perth, and Matt in Melbourne, and all of you guys, and anybody that I missed. I didn't put the feature phone picture from South Korea.
Yeah, there was that one, and then there was a woman too on Twitter that was sending it to her students.
Yes,
that was cool, man.
Yeah. Oh, damn! I didn't put it up, but that one was the one where I was like, okay, this is hitting. Where I guess it was Matt in Melbourne. This guy in South Korea was like, send money to me in South Korea. He was like, send it to me on my smartphone, and then let's test my mom's feature phone. It's a piece of shit clamshell, and it worked perfectly. Well, why wouldn't it? It's just it's an SMS.
Right.
Any phone that could send SMS.
It's cool.
And so the power of this is I don't think most people in the developed world recognize just how high the penetration of mobile phones is worldwide.
Yeah.
You don't have to have very much money to have a mobile phone, right? It's pretty widespread. We actually got reached out to by a guy, and we'll see what comes of it, but who's actually working with, he said, 30,000 farmers in Tanzania who he was like, everybody does mobile payments here. You know, my buddy Simon, who's from Kenya, when I showed him this, I hadn't even heard of it before. But he was like, he's from Kenya, he's from Nairobi. And he's like, oh yeah, they have this system, M-Pesa. He's like, this is like M-Pesa. We do this in Africa. I looked it up, 6 billion transactions between 10 nations last year, all SMS.
Wow.
SMS sending money, but sending it through the banking system.
Wow.
Right? So it's like, even to peel off a portion of that and to move it over into cryptocurrency, think about how that will change the world. Like, here is the possibility to give real financial freedom to a huge, broad swath of the world. And the thing is, I hope competitors come along. Like, I hope we're not the only one.
Yeah.
People were, even in this discussion, people were like, we've developed our product. We've put it out there. We're in beta still. There are still bugs and features and things that we want to do, but it's working very solid, for the way that it is. But we want to make it foolproof as it moves out to the world, right? And also we want to streamline some things. Obviously, this is just a normal thing in technology, but people were like, well, I think that if you did this, it would be better. I think if you did this, it would be better. And I'm like, then go do it.
Yeah, seriously.
Make the better one. If there's a better one, either one, I'll just use it. You'll outcompete us and that's what we'll all use. Or two, then we'll integrate the functions as well let's go and compete.
Yeah.
If you can do it better, do it. That's the whole thing about this. There's no barrier to entry for you. And I've just described how to set it up so that there isn't a barrier to entry. It's a public blockchain. There's no barrier to entry to using the blockchain. That's what makes it a public decentralized ledger. That's the power. It's regulatorily. There's no regulatory barrier to entry if you do it on chain and you do it right, at least for the time being. And there's no barrier to entry to do the SMS. Like, there's a technical barrier to entry. You're going to have to be able to actually write this code, but then that makes it worth it to write the code. Which, by the way, while we're talking about this, good segue, just throw up Code from Go real quick because I just want to say something. Hey, Code from Go, all of the current students in the final, this will be the final class on Wednesday for the first Code from Go Basics seminar series, which has gone fantastic. You guys have done so great. The work that I've seen back from you, and I just want to say that I'm super proud. People going from no coding experience to sending me code that honestly looks like it was done by somebody with like 5 to 6 years of experience. Better than some of the people that I've worked with. So you guys should be proud of yourselves. For those people who have signed up for the code and who haven't gone through the classes, you're blowing it. Go through the class. But Wednesday will be the last class. And then for everybody who has been saying, oh, I didn't make it in time, I didn't make it in time, I'm going to take about a month to promote the next class. I'll start that probably in about a week or two, and then we will start the next class. So I'm looking forward to more people coming in. But again, I think we reached about the right level. I think I'm going to cap the classes out at about 75 people from now on, because that seems to be what's manageable for me to actually get back to people. But I love it. It's great. I want to thank you guys for being such great students, and I look forward to working with you as you go out there and even try to work more. And we're going to do a crypto course for those people who have already done the basics course, and we're going to do an automation course for the people who have already done the basics course. So, and we'll be working with some of the basic libraries that underlie CoinText as well. So I want more of you out there. I want people competing in this space. I'm doing it. Look, of course, I think that any good business, if it's a good, sustainable business model, should be able to make money. But I'm in this for freedom, man. You guys know why I'm here. There's no shortage of things that I can do. Go make the best CoinText. Go be the one that makes it so that SMS Bitcoin Cash payments are all over the world. Please. Forget about whatever money I might make doing CoinText. The amount of money that I'll make in a much freer world that's created by that is 100 times more. So I'd love for you to do this. I hope that you're inspired more than anything. And if you don't know how to code and you want to learn how to do these sorts of things, I'm willing to teach you that too. All you got to do is be willing to take the time to do it. So, Christian, speaking of, while we're at it, taking the time to do things, entrepreneurship. I've been seeing the presses running around here, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
Shirts. Govern yourself. We don't talk about it nearly enough. Governyourself.com. I know that you've been working on a lot of shirt designs. I know these are some of the classics. The Crypto Savage shirt. What else do we got? Keep calm and avoid taxation. Women's. Marie Rothbard. Litecoin. Do you have a Bitcoin Cash one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bitcoin Cash?
Yeah, I have it. Is it on the site? I think it's on the site. If not, I'll put it up. But I have one that has a Bitcoin Cash logo.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a meme, actually. It's a Bitcoin Cash logo, and it just says, instead of Bitcoin Cash, it says simple economics right below it.
Oh, I got to wear that one. Dude, I should have took some of those up to Liberty Forum. Well, what you got to do is you're going to have to come out to PorkFest, and we're going to have to set up a table, govern yourself table.
Yeah, dude.
Slang all these. Slang them for crypto for sure. Dude, yeah. So people go check out governyourself.com, get a shirt, show it, go around, show it off. People, like, inform people, and especially
right. It's a great conversation starter for sure.
And especially if you're involved with go sign up for the Cointext beta, get on that, and every time somebody asks you about it, be like, yeah, this is Bitcoin Cash, this is cryptocurrency. Have you heard of cryptocurrency? Oh, well, how do I get some cryptocurrency? Hold my beer. I got you. What's your phone number? Blah.
That's gonna be like, when you start sending Bitcoin Cash through emojis, that's going to be the emoji that you send it with. Hold my beer.
It's a little beer, a beer emoji. Oh, that's funny. Well, look, we're not limited to like, we can start adding on, because people have asked, oh, well, can you send a message along with it and all of this? And it's like, yeah, we totally can. Like, these are all really cool features for I'm trying to keep it simple now.
Yeah.
But what a cool, feature for the future. So where are we at? We're at 10 minutes until the second hour. Want to get on with Isaac Morehouse. What should we do? Go ahead and see if he's ready to go. And while we're at it, haven't talked about it enough. Self-ownership. So as I said, I'm going to have the 25-minute talk that I did at Liberty Forum up. It's really taking this book and what I'm going to do this year. Selfownership.me is where you can get it. I did not give these away, but I did a dinner, and all the attendees of the dinner that I hosted at Liberty Forum got a copy of this book. This is the basis for everything that we do on this show, for sort of the ideology and the belief system. And the talk that I gave, that the 25-minute, it was a mini keynote. Jack Spirko and I actually split the keynote time. So we both gave keynotes. It was dealing with, in the beginning of the concepts for my next book, which I'm already outlining now, which is Render Unto Caesar. And the subtitle is Liberty in the Age of the Crypto Savage.
Nice.
So it's about how we interact economically, how we interact legislatively, politically, all of these things. Like, how do we find our niche? How do we carve aside that space? And one way of doing that is definitely to move to places and to be in places where we can do that in person, right? Like, we do it here ourselves, but it's a huge difference having a community of people around you. And that's one of the things we're going to talk to Isaac about, because he's really developing a community on the side of entrepreneurship. And I like the idea of, you can take off the self-ownership thing. I like the idea, and I've always said that you can do good in the world. It doesn't, like, everybody thinks like, oh, I got to start a nonprofit. And it's like, why can't you do good and make a profit at the same time? Because if all that profit is an expression of value. That whatever product has come out of your labor is worth more than the labor that went in. That's all that profit is. That's it. So it's like, isn't it even more sustainable? Because what, if you're a nonprofit, usually you got to ask for donations and all this. And
you actually broke down value. We had a conversation, and it directly relates to the profit motive, the profit thing. About, and maybe you can just touch on it briefly, about the chef cooking for his family. And
wait, go further.
Yeah,
because I use chef a lot as an example.
You have the most sought after chef in the world, the most valuable, the most prestige chef in the world.
Right.
That is cooking a dinner.
Right.
And he's cooking a dinner, and he's charging people top dollar for this dinner. People go to this dinner, and then you compared it to him cooking for his family.
Right. The value that they put on it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, well, this is something that I've, like, even in my own, profession, that when you do something when you do something well, that is something that is done on a day-to-day basis, like, it's one of these things about value being subjective. And it's like, even if that chef, he's cooking for his family, and it's probably, even if it's just like comfort food, just because he's like educated at it, it's probably the best damn tuna casserole that you ever had, right? He's doing burgers on the grill, but it's like, it's not just burgers on the grill. Like, it's done very, very well, but because you're there, because you're like inside of it, I think the subjective value of it's like, that's totally normal. That's totally normal. The way that's in that case, it's like it could be skewed to where, like, you feel entitled. Like, if you're his child, you feel entitled to have good food all the time, right? Amazing food all the time. Whereas other people are like, I'm more than happy to pay because I don't get that all the time, right? So there's the subjective value. I think that the way that flips when you're talking about like a community, especially like Liberty, a community of libertarians, and I found this even happening to me, when I was there at Liberty Forum, and it also happened to me at Free Coast Fest, and also happened to me at Pork Fest. And we'll go to it, but I'm sure it will also happen to me in Texas in a week, 2 weeks almost, at the Texas Liberty Conference, is that you get into a mode where you're speaking the same vocabulary because you're in that community, and it's like the friction goes away. And where you're able to get to in the conversation is so much, you're able to start at such a later place. I mean, look, I'm sure that you do so many artistic things and have done so many artistic things that it's like, the conversation that you have with another mixologist, or the conversation that you're able to have with another B-boy, totally where you can start the conversation about dance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You start it starts way out here because you assume you're able to safely make assumptions about their knowledge and their experience, like back to here. You know what I mean? And that allows you to take the whole activity like way forward. And so I think it was something that we were trying to have Peter Kallman on the show to talk about when when his connection was not so good. Maybe we'll have to have him back on, but there's something so tangibly different about being able to be in a community of people where these very high level thoughts and high level concepts are already assumed, and you're able to just go right past it. Like, yeah, I know you already got this shit, and I heard it was interesting because I heard over and over and over in the talks, like, I don't really need to tell this group of people what the problem is with the drug war. I don't really need to tell this group of people what the problem is with inflation and the dollar losing its value over the last 100 years. I don't really need to tell this group of people what the problem is with police militarization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, oh yeah, you really don't have to. Like, we don't even have to have that conversation.
Well, also too, the contribution that they bring to the table is huge. And that's kind of going back to the chef, is like, if I don't know anything about cooking, but I'm a part of the chef's family member, he's going to cook for me and I'm not going to pay for it. But if I go there as a person who's going to pay for something, my contribution towards that is making me
well, your appreciation of it as well, right? Your appreciation. There was in amongst a great many sort of Japanese kind of spiritual, and Indian as well, but kind of like spiritual teachers and practitioners of certain arts, there's been something historically that it's like I will not teach Westerners unless they pay like some exorbitant amount of money, because if they don't pay, they won't appreciate it at all.
Right.
Like, it's almost like unless you pay, like, which is it's the weirdest thing, but it makes total sense, because it's like, well, if it's free, it's clearly not worth anything.
Yeah.
So that's it's the economics of it, and it's like, that's what the problem with like Marxism and socialism and the idea that like the economics of capitalism, that it's somehow like some social construct. It's like, no, it's a description of how you act.
Yeah. Yep. It's a
description of the psychology of human beings.
And you're energetically, like, you're contributing, so you're energetically intertwined with that. You know what I mean? You're exchanging, and there's a law of exchange there. You know, what you put in comes out.
Law of reciprocity, right. Yeah, for sure. So before I forget, because it is coming up, yet another place that I would be, and I would love to see people come out to the Texas Liberty Conference. We got Texas Liberty in there?
Yeah.
Texas Liberty Conference. It's on the 24th at the Oasis on Lake Travis in Austin. I will be speaking there. Texas Liberty PAC, P-A-C, .wordpress.com. You can go find out more, find out about the speakers, and get tickets. Really cool location. Of course, it's Austin, so that's super cool as well. And this conference is a little more. It's actually a pre-conference before the Libertarian Party convention. So there's going to be a lot of the Libertarian Party candidates there. If you're somebody who's in Texas and you are interested in liberty, this is actually a really great opportunity for you to make some meaningful connections. And of course, I would love to see you there and talk with you and meet you. I'll be there all day. So TexasLibertyPAC.wordpress.com is the Texas Liberty Conference, February 24th at the Oasis on Lake Travis in Austin. Looks like it is time. Let's go to break. Why don't you go ahead and bring Isaac on? Let's go to break, and we will come back with our guest, Isaac Morehouse, founder of Praxis.
The spirit of art. The spirit of technology. The spirit of individuality. Baby Vodka. An ultra-premium spirit conceived by Vin Armani. Handcrafted and distilled in Las Vegas by master distiller George Rotz. Each bottle, a celebration of the individual, custom engraved and hand-signed by the creators. Each element blending in harmony to create a beautiful experience beyond imagination. Baby Vodka, the spirit of Vegas. Created by Vin Armani. Tailored by Christian Rays. Available for purchase exclusively with cryptocurrency at babyvodka.com.
Welcome back to the Vin Armani Show. We are streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Vin Armani. Also on Twitter and Periscope at Vin Armani is my handle there. We are proud members of the Activist Post Podcast Network, so you can check out all of our audio archives by visiting activistpost.com. So before we get to our guests, I want to just talk to you a little bit about counter markets, trends and strategies for maximum freedom. Get your first issue for free at countermarkets.com. So we were talking about CoinText earlier, and our private beta went out exclusively to counter market subscribers. Yet another perk of being a part of this family. It's not just a newsletter. It is very much a community of individuals who are dedicated to taking the next step in economics, in liberty, in entrepreneurship. So that's what we talk about. Our January issue is out now. It's a fantastic issue. Obviously, the trends of this year are unique. We're going to see a lot more when it comes to automation. We're clearly seeing a lot more when it comes to the blockchain and cryptocurrency, and we are a part of that ourselves. So this is a project that has spurred us on to do a great many things. Entrepreneurship being, I think, one of the key components to obtaining more liberty in your life, that self-sustainability, that financial freedom. And there's some entrepreneurs doing things around here. Hopefully no more honking. Speaking of entrepreneurship and speaking of sort of those next steps in this movement of liberty, I'd like to bring on our guest, Isaac Morehouse. Isaac Morehouse is the founder and CEO of Praxis, an intensive startup apprenticeship program for entrepreneurial young people who want more than college. Isaac is the author of several books on topics ranging from liberty to education to entrepreneurship. He's also the host of the Office Hours podcast, offering philosophical insight and actionable advice on how to take charge of your life and career. Isaac Morehouse, welcome to the Vin Armani Show.
Hey, thanks so much, Vin. The first thing I need to know is, what does the air horn signify? I got to get one of those going in the office.
I think the air horn would usually be like the DJ, like, rah, 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 rah. No, it's because our space is, it's on right on topic. So we have a big creative space that is in kind of a light industrial area. So we have our print shop here. I own a vodka brand, and the distillery is just a few doors down, so it works for that. We have our studio here. We've got our offices here. So it's kind of like this big creative space for the group of us who are doing things, and it works out really, really well. We've got several businesses running out of here, but there are also several businesses around us. This is the Las Vegas, what is it called? The booze, is it the Las Vegas Booze District or the Henderson Booze District, Christian?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas Booze District. So we've got a distillery, a winery, and 2 breweries within basically all walking distance. We're all neighbors, and we're just smack in the middle. So sometimes you get people like, delivery, ice delivery, hops delivery, but it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be hearing it.
And you managed to get work done with all that booze. That's some self-discipline right there.
Well, there's so much behind Christian right now that we could really go in on it. But we're good. We're good. Christian's a bartender. I'm an experienced drinker, but one good thing that I know is never get high on your own supply. So I just made the price point high enough on these things that I feel bad having a sip. So let's talk about business. Let's talk about entrepreneurship, because I'm so interested in your project. I think it's something that I totally would have done instead of going to college. I said that at the beginning, and I had a full ride to go to school, but I still would have preferred to do this because in many ways I felt like I was wasting my time with school, and now as an entrepreneur. Can you tell us a little bit about Praxis and what this whole thing is?
Yeah, they say most companies are, people who found companies, entrepreneurs, they're trying to scratch their own itch. And that's very much the case here. Like I went to college and I worked my way through. And so, I had classes 2-3 days a week, and I'm working the other days. And I would go to these classes and nobody wanted to be there. I mean, the professors didn't want to be there. The students didn't want to be there. There's not many goods where you pay up front and then you're excited when the good's not delivered. Like when class is canceled, everybody cheers, which is a very odd thing when you think about it, until you start to understand what's actually going on there. But I remember just feeling very like it was just all really wasteful, and here I am, I'm working 2 or 3 days a week, and I'm in over my head every day. I'm running around the state of Michigan and installing like telecommunications cabling and stuff like that, and learning so much on the job. And then I'm turning around and I'm taking the money I earn and I'm spending it to pay for textbooks and tuition and, parking tickets and other bureaucratic nonsense. To go to classes, a few of them were kind of interesting, but it was stuff I was interested in anyway. And I remember just feeling like this is so wasteful. And it's like, it's not me dictating what I want to do. I felt like I had to. I felt like I was on this conveyor belt because what's the old thing? If you don't, you'll never get a job. You'll never succeed. You'll be homeless. You'll be destitute. You have to go to college. And I was just really frustrated with the whole thing. And I had this same feeling that I have when I encounter the healthcare institutions, today, where it's very clear that the accountability between the consumer and the producer is almost non-existent because you got all these third parties in between. So like the professor doesn't care if you like their class or not, if you're learning or not, because it has no bearing on their income. And they've got tenure. It has no bearing on like the money you're paying. Usually it's coming from some, financial aid or grants or, it's artificially subsidized. And so you don't feel it. Students, 17-year-olds don't know what it means to be $50,000 in debt. Everyone tells them it's worth it. The interest rates are low. They don't have to pay for a while. So there's none of that accountability. Like I'm paying money right now. I demand results. It's this big mishmashy, inefficient system. And so anyway, I had this feeling like something's amiss here. This is so inefficient. Well, I kind of wanted to do something about it. I didn't really know what to do. And I kind of over the next 10 years of my career, I was working in and around higher ed, for lack of a better term, with some different nonprofits, working with students a lot, kind of helping them, mentoring them in different ways. And I saw, especially after the '08 crash, I had started doing fundraising at this point for nonprofits. And so I went from working with all these students to working with all these successful entrepreneurs, self-made millionaires, and incredibly wealthy, successful people. And I saw all these students telling me, I got a degree, I got debt, there's no jobs. Can't get a job, nobody's hiring. I guess I'll go back to grad school or something. And then I talked to all these like company founders, CEOs, and they're telling me, oh, my biggest constraint is talent. I'm hiring all the time. I just can never find enough good people. I'm always, you give me a good person, I'll hire them no matter what, because they're going to create value for me. And I thought, man, something is amiss here. And, it kind of, a lot of different things sort of came together. And it's almost like, I almost feel stupid that it took me so long to kind of put the pieces together. But I thought, what if we could take in 1 year, if we could provide all of the things that you need to really get from like a student who has no experience and interaction with the world of the marketplace to speak of, which is unfortunate in and of itself, but coming out of high school or whatever, and get you what you need to be a value creating employee or even entrepreneur, to be a freelancer, to begin your career. What would be the most efficient way to do that? And all the best learning happens from doing. I thought about my own experiences. I learned so much more on the job than in the classroom. So what if we could combine some skills training and coaching and some mentorship along with real world experience, apprenticing at startups, to understand what it's like to be in that environment, and to say, with 1 year of that under your belt, will you have more to show than somebody who's got a generic degree? And my contention is absolutely you will. And thus far, since we launched Praxis 4 years ago, that's been the case for our customers, certainly. So the basic model, it's a 6-month boot camp, which is done virtually. It's done online, and it's pretty intensive. And it's really about kind of deschooling your mindset and starting to think in terms of value creation instead of rule following. And then the second 6 months, we place you with a startup and you are apprenticing there full time. It's a paid apprenticeship. So on net, the program pays for itself. And at the end of that year, 96% of our grads get hired full time. Their average pay is over $50,000. Almost none of them have college degrees. So it's been fairly successful in terms of the career aspect. But to me, what's even more important is changing the mindset to one of personal control, personal freedom, that you are in the driver's seat in your own life. You don't just sit on some conveyor belt, checking off boxes, taking tests, following rules, and then say, okay, where's my job? Hand it to me. No. You can take charge right now and think like an entrepreneur to start building your career today.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Christian and I were actually just talking before the show about how long, like I was looking back and we were talking about, we're both entrepreneurs, and how long traditionally it takes to feel comfortable that you can, like now I feel comfortable that I can start a new business if I've gone through and done my due diligence, and that I'm at least going to break even or not lose very much, and that there's a good chance that it'll actually be profitable, and maybe another chance that it'll pay for everything, like it'll skyrocket through and be super successful. But that took for me, probably about 10 years. And thankfully, running across a couple or three very good business mentors along the way, who took me along, and one of them bought a company that I had and sort of walked me through all the problems and brought those out. This is such an interesting idea of being able to do something like this in a focused way in a year. I'm interested. The apprenticeship part is so key, and so many people don't understand that. It's like without that, you're never going to be an entrepreneur at all. Can you talk to us a little bit? Maybe we'll walk through it. Talk to us a little bit about this first 6 months, what that's all about, and how you were able to figure out or decide upon what things would be the important things for these students to know.
Yeah, that's a great question. And to first set it up by saying everything is nested in that experiential component, as you mentioned, like the things you said about, what you know now about starting a business. You couldn't have read that in a book or been taught in a classroom and been like, great, I got it. Like, you have to experience it. I use the analogy of bike riding that, imagine if we taught bike riding the way that we sort of teach careers. You'd spend like 20 years studying bikes, looking at pictures of bikes, labeling the parts, memorizing things about the rubber trees that were, the ecosystem they were in, where you get the stuff for the tires and, bike history and all this stuff. Maybe every once in a while you'd get to like see a bike and touch it, but you look at them, you certainly don't ride it. And you're being taught by people who hate bikes and never ride them, right?
Right.
And then
Good point.
Like, right? And then you're like, okay, congratulations, your study is done. Now here's a bike you dropped off on the highway, go ride. It's like the absurdity. You've got to interact with it. And so, that experiential learning, I mean, that's what the word praxis is like, the combination of theory and practice. It's to learn by doing. So when we first launched, we had like a weekend opening seminar where it's like, kind of inspiration, information, setting up kind of the mindset here and how are you going to succeed as an apprentice and get the most out of this. And then the apprenticeship started like immediately. And there was, the curriculum, which has a lot of stuff, in it on everything from hard skills like using different software technologies to things like philosophy and critical thinking, like combined while you're doing the apprenticeship. And then we found, okay, a lot of the young people that we're getting, bright, really talented, great people, they really struggle in that first month or two because they have not been in the marketplace at all. They've really been sheltered from it in many cases. They've certainly never been in sort of a startup environment. And so they were like really struggling with some basic things that made it much harder to really get value right away. And so we thought, well, what if we added like a 2-month sort of boot camp before they start, where we kind of start helping get some of the mindsets, introducing them to some of the stuff, everything from like basic office politics to, whatever, just the professional world, how to use email and Google Calendar, things that young people don't largely have to do. And then we found that once we actually ended up extending it, and then it was a 3-month boot camp. We made it a 6-month boot camp because we found, like, again, we call it the deschooling process. When people get into Praxis, it's really common. The first few months, they've got to just unlearn the habits that they have, the habits of mind. And this is why, by the way, college is not just like, okay, you're missing out on 4 years of real world experience. You're actually enhancing and developing habits that will make it harder for you to succeed in the professional world many times. So things like learning to the test, just cramming on a bunch of knowledge that you might need to know instead of learning to the task. What can I learn that will help me solve a specific problem today? Or just the permission-based mindset. Okay, let me do this so that I can get approval from somebody, or give me the exact instructions instead of like, Google it, figure it out, think of ways to create value, right? Start to understand that no one's going to hand you an instruction manual. You got to start to think that way. So really being able to extend that to 6 months has allowed us to work with a lot more people and kind of get those rough edges so that they can hit the ground running from day one at their business partner. So that was a lot of setup, but just real quick, there's 6 modules, a module each month in that boot camp. And it starts with creating your own profile. We call it like a portfolio. It includes a personal website, a personal pitch deck, an elevator pitch video, a couple projects that kind of demonstrate. Maybe you're interested in writing. So maybe you do a 30-day, challenge where you're going to go take marketing emails that you subscribe to from other companies, and you're going to break down the copy, and you're going to talk about what you like and don't like in those. And maybe you'll set up your own MailChimp campaign, and then you'll kind of demonstrate all this in like a video or a PDF to showcase, so that instead of saying, hey, I'm interested in marketing, you should hire me, you can actually show people, here's something that I did. I built this. Here's why. Here's how. So building up kind of your personal brand, understanding that, the college degree is a signal that says like, I'm probably no worse than other people with a degree, right? Well, what if you could build your own signal that says something more than that? What if you could build a signal that's like, here's a portfolio of stuff I've done? Compare someone who says, I've got a marketing major to someone who says, here are 3 micro campaigns I ran on Facebook. Here's the ROI I got. Here's the funnel that I created with, MailChimp campaigns over the next 3 weeks. Here's how many clicks I got. This is, what I've done for these 2-3 different businesses on these projects, even if they were unpaid. Wow, that tells you a lot more. So getting participants to build those are the first few months. The third month is a 30-day blogging challenge that's got some different workshops and exercises really intensely focused on not just improving your writing, but more than that, improving your ability to learn to ship things, to get over perfectionism, to get over the preparation mindset that says, whoa, someday when I'm good enough, how many people do I know, Vin, that wish they had a show like yours that tell me, I'm going to have a podcast. I'm working on it. I just need better equipment. I just need a better website. It's like, just start shipping. Just start shipping, and all that stuff you can improve as you go. I'm sure the first version of the first podcast you ever did wasn't as good as it is now,
Absolutely
but you just started.
That's right.
Yeah. So, we have a lot of, the month 5 is all about content, or is all about learning basic software stack, things like Trello, Salesforce, Slack, Gmail Suite, things that they're likely to use in their business partners. They're doing interviews with startups throughout this process as we're working on the process of matching them with the best fit in our network. So really, by the time they start that second 6 months, the apprenticeship portion, they've completely reversed their mindset from one of waiting to be told what to do to, I am going to go out and create value. I know how to, solve problems. I know how to document my work. I know how to showcase that to the world. It's a pretty exciting and intensive boot camp.
So you're working with, I saw the list of companies. I thought that they were excellent companies, exactly the types that I would want to be working with, your businesses who are partners with you, that if I was young right now, first, before we even go into that, on the young question, clearly this would be geared toward people who are coming out of high school, or maybe have done a little bit of college or something like that. Do you have an age limit of people who could sign up? What's your sort of, and if not, what's your sort of band, your age range that people who are interested seem to be in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we've had participants as young as 17, and if they're younger than 18, it's important that their parents are on board with this as well. And then we've had participants as old as maybe 28 or 29. We don't have a hard limit. The way that we frame it is, this is really ideal for getting you started on kind of your first step into your career. And so, if you've got 5 years of work experience under your belt, we're not ideally situated. The kind of roles we're going to put you in and things like that, we're really geared for entry level, kind of your first foray. So our average age is around 20. About 2/3 of our participants are, probably high school grads with no college experience, and then maybe another 20, maybe a quarter have a couple years of college under their belt, and they were just not getting any value, and so they cut out and did Praxis instead. And then we have, maybe 15-20% who are college grads that just weren't getting anywhere that they wanted to. They graduated and they're like, okay, I still don't know anything. I need a next step in my career. So it's really not so much about where you're at age-wise or formal education. It's kind of, if you need help taking that first step, and maybe you think, I don't know, I don't really know what I want to do. I know that I'm hardworking and I'm willing to work hard. I'm talented and I want to learn. I don't know, maybe I want to start a business someday, but the next step is unclear to you. Getting in and getting that real experience and seeing, oh, this is what a marketing department does. This is what sales is like. This is what operations and accounting are like. Oh, okay, here's, just getting that real world work experience can really help you clarify and can help you find, the next opportunity.
So, okay, that brings me to, my background as a software developer for decades now, and particularly I loved working in the startup environment, just both my skill set and my knowledge, and also kind of my mentality being more entrepreneurial. If I was going to work for a company, it was definitely going to be a startup. Those seem to be where it was. My experience with startups has been, though, that they run relatively lean in terms of, especially towards the beginning, in terms of their staff. So it seems as though these are people being brought on at kind of the entry level of things, maybe with some skill set, but certainly not the experience. What are companies looking for from Praxis? Are they looking to bring on people that can grow with the company? Are they looking for specific roles? What are the types of roles that your students are playing in these companies that they're apprenticing at?
Yeah, we specialize in almost exclusively in non-technical roles. Mm-hmm. So we have occasionally had a few people, with your skill set, with some programming skills or some heavy, maybe data analytics or something. But that's not our specialty. We really found this niche that nobody else was filling. There's a good number of alternatives to college if you are, if you're a programmer, like you just build up your GitHub portfolio. You can teach yourself. You can go to coding school. There's a lot of on-ramps to kind of a career in that way. And for people who are like I was, I'm not a coding type. I'm kind of a generalist. I'm a people person. We're really helping show that there's a way to do this for those non-technical roles. So the roles that we tend to fill, a lot of entry-level sales roles, like business development rep type roles, entry-level marketing roles, and kind of operations or generalist roles where it's sort of, maybe somebody who's doing some sales support, or who's working alongside an executive as kind of a right hand, man or woman. And so the companies tend to be growing companies. So often they're companies that have maybe, received a funding round recently, or they're just, high growth or in a growth mode. And they tend to be like, hey, we're building up our sales team. We have a good infrastructure. We have a good, training in place. We just need people with the mentality. That's the hardest part to get. This sort of, I call it the sleep in your car test, right? The types who are willing to sleep in their car to get what they want, which are rare. And we do a great job attracting and screening for that. And so they're often doing, that kind of like entry-level sales marketing work, or some sort of, like, I say operations, that's kind of a catch-all, but sort of like non-technical stuff. I mean, it could be anything from, like helping improve the way that, that the team is using Salesforce or Trello or something like that, to, actually running a series of ad campaigns, or managing the company blog, or logging those calls, doing cold calls and cold emails as a salesperson. So those tend to be the areas that we focus on the most.
Okay, so I'd like to then get into a little bit about, because I'm sure that there are some people listening. I'm absolutely sure that there are some people listening right now who are, if not interested for themselves. I know that we have a lot of listeners who have teenagers or sort of like tween kids, and I think that as you start thinking about this, especially nowadays, and if they're listening to this show, we talk a lot about how automation is going to take away some jobs and things like that. These are going to be the industries that are going to be still sticking around and still growing, and the roles in there that will be good. In terms of if somebody wanted to do this, they're like, well, if I go to college, maybe I can get loans, I can get financial aid, all of that. Can you talk a little bit about, how much this costs? How your students who, if they don't have the cash to afford this up front, how they're figuring out how to do that, if you're offering any financial aid options, all of that. How does that work with you guys?
Yeah, so we are 100% private, for-profit, don't want any government grants or government subsidized loans, don't want any of the strings attached. We want direct accountability to our customer, and we will always be that way. That said, we do everything we can to make it as accessible and affordable. Basically, our position is if somebody is got the drive, and we know we can help them get started on their career, because it's a competitive program. So only about 12% of applicants get accepted, and that's not because we don't want to work with more people. It's because it's like if you were if you were a fitness trainer, and we kind of see ourselves as like fitness trainers for your career, and someone came to you and said, hey, my mom told me I should come and get in shape, so here I am. You'd be like, get out of here. I can't work with you, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to help you. You've got to have the mentality first. So if you've got that, we're going to find a way to make this so that you can do it. We're not going to let money get in the way. So the tuition for the 1-year program is $11,000, and you earn about $14,400 at the apprenticeship. So on net, the program pays for itself. You actually come out a little bit ahead. But you do have to, find living accommodations during that 6 months, and, be able to afford, living where your business partner is located. So our goal from the beginning was to make this program zero cost. So what you pay, you earn more than that during the program itself. And we've been able to maintain that. And then we work with people really flexibly in terms of payment plans. Like, if they want to make payments over a longer period of time, or they want to structure their payments in a certain way, we absolutely can do that. We have occasionally had a few. We just wrapped up a homeschool scholarship that we did. Every once in a while, we'll have like a scholarship or something that we might be able to do here and there. But our goal is, look, we're going to make this, it's a 1-year thing, and really, like, you can do it. It pays for itself, and we can work with you to make sure that you make this happen. I wanted to quickly touch on, because you mentioned automation. There's actually a great book, The End of Jobs, which I highly recommend, that kind of talks about, the future of work. And it's not just like, oh, these industries, these startups, they'll be the ones that will survive. It's actually something more fundamental than that we're getting at here, that whatever industry, like in 20 years, what you're going to be doing, it probably doesn't exist yet, right? So you can't like train specifically for that. So what you need is a more fundamental type of training, which is to think like an entrepreneur. Whether you ever launch your own business or not, think of yourself as me incorporated. I've got a skill set. I've got to be able to create value for people and prove it to them, be able to demonstrate that, but like personal marketing or sales or branding. And that doesn't have to mean like cheesy personal branding, but to be able to have a reputation of value creation, to be able to attract clients or companies that want to hire me, and to know, like, to become someone who is sort of immune to those changes because you're adaptable. Like, to be able to be the kind of person who sees every new technology, automation, blockchain, whatever it might be, as, oh my gosh, this is only going to create more opportunity because I'm adaptable, I'm flexible, I can find a way to take advantage of this. That's the mindset we're getting at, rather than like stuck in a track, I'm going to learn this one specific thing and I hope that the economy doesn't kill it someday,
I like that. And, it's not surprising to me. Speaking of books, I mean, I know that you're an author yourself, and it's not surprising to me as I look at the topics that you're interested in writing about, that liberty sticks out, certainly, and you are clearly an individualist. I just got back from Liberty Forum in New Hampshire. Somebody had brought up, why is it that people are not talking about, you're trying to move people here, but nobody's talking about, we're going to find you a job? And it's like, well, because so many of the people here are entrepreneurs that they're just like, well, I'll move there and I'll just build a company. Like, that's the thing. What do you think is the combination? Because it's clearly there, and it's clearly something that you've thought about, and you're working with people who are in this mindset. What is that combination with the sort of the libertarian mindset, but I think it's more an individualist view of liberty, and the entrepreneur? What do you see as the connection there, and how has that been sort of an impactful thing in your own life?
Man, that's probably my favorite question, because it's one that, there's no neat and tidy answer to, but it's something I do think about a lot. And I will tell you, the people who apply to our program, there are a couple categories that disproportionately sort of do really well and have the mindset. Homeschoolers, people whose parents are business owners or entrepreneurs, and people who have kind of a libertarian bent or philosophy, or in the very least, who don't see business and commerce as like these evil exploitative forces, but have kind of an optimistic view that like markets are full of opportunity. And that often goes along with a kind of libertarian worldview. So there is a lot of overlap there. I think in my lifetime, this has been even in the last 5 to 10 years, a massive shift. So what got me where I am today really was like freedom. The pursuit of freedom for myself and others is above all, that's the motivating force in my life. That's what drives me. And so initially, like many young, naive people, I thought, well, I want to make the world free. I'll go into politics, So I worked in the state government with some different state legislators, and I realized pretty quickly, both because I started studying public choice theory and Austrian economics, and then I was looking and seeing what was happening. I realized politicians are not leaders, they're followers. That politics is a lagging indicator of greater changes that have already taken place. They're going to go where it's safe to go. So I was like, okay, it's really the ideas, it's the beliefs of the public that are the ultimate constraint on policy. Like if a politician today could get paid from the hot dog lobby to mandate that everyone eat hot dogs every Friday, they would do it.
Absolutely.
But the only thing stopping them is the fact that the public believes that to be stupid, and they laugh at them, right? And so it's that belief. So I got involved in some various nonprofits, kind of helping to educate and working with students and, kind of getting to the ideas component. Okay, let's alter people's beliefs and let's try to alter, the policy environment, public opinion. And it's like the sort of intellectual approach, right? Let's kind of win the arguments,
Yes.
and that will sort of change the world. Now that is a key part of bringing about a freer world, because there are certainly people who base their beliefs on arguments, but most of our beliefs are formed based on experience,
Yes.
not based on sort of rational examination. And when Uber emerged, it slapped, I think, all libertarians in the face with this great example of like, wait a minute, how many policy institutes have been writing white papers about the deadweight losses and the unfairness of taxi cartels for like 20 years
That's right.
without making a dent? And then all of a sudden, somebody just ignores all the arguments. Instead of, taxis it's bad, it's inefficient, it's immoral, whatever. Here's an alternative. Try it. And if you like it, all of a sudden, all these non-ideological people are like angry at politicians for trying to ban Uber. And all of a sudden, politicians can't get away with banning Uber. And it starts to unravel. You innovate around oppression instead of trying to argue everyone out of it. And I remember this scene in this movie, I think it was called The Call of the Entrepreneur, where this guy from Hong Kong, he said he grew up in communist China, and he worked at the train station, and someone gave him a piece of chocolate one time. Someone from, he grew up in mainland China. Someone from Hong Kong gave him a piece of chocolate, and he didn't know what chocolate was. He took a bite, and he said, I didn't know anything about Hong Kong, but I thought, if they're capable of producing this, I need to go there, because it was so much better than anything he enjoyed under. And you think about that, and you think there's a reason communist countries didn't just ban like free market textbooks. They banned like blue jeans and Marlboro cigarettes and jazz music, because there's a very literal sense in which if you taste freedom, you got to have more of it. And so this epiphany hit me, and I think this has been a trend that's been growing. I think sort of Uber and the fact that we all have individualized apps on our phone, it really like awakened many libertarian-leaning people to the possibility that changing the world doesn't only come about by giving talks and writing books. It comes about by innovation, by entrepreneurship, by creating alternatives to the status quo. I could rail about higher education policy until my face is blue and nothing would happen. But how about I just say, I don't care. I'm not interested in reform. I want to peacefully show you an alternative. And if it works better for you, I'll profit and you'll profit. And maybe if we both profit from something that works better than the status quo will actually start to crumble or have to change as well. And that's really the ultimate form of living free, is actually the living part, turning off the news and not arguing so much and focusing on what can I do to create the kind of world I want to live in. And that was certainly the case for me. That was the revelation that led me to launch Praxis. And I have seen something like that with many, many people who are passionate about the ideas of liberty, especially in the last 5 to 10 years. I think that's a really awesome trend.
I love this. And I've also seen that trend as well. I want to talk about your podcast as well, the Office Hours podcast. Clearly, you have thought about business and you are teaching people about business, even at the most fundamental first principles and entrepreneurship. Tell us a little bit about how you decided to do this podcast. And I know now for sure that after this that our listeners will go, they're voracious podcast listeners and consumers. I know they're going to go and start downloading back episodes of it. Tell us a little bit about the podcast and what they can expect to hear when they go and listen to these episodes.
Yeah, definitely go check out Office Hours. It's the most fun thing that I do every week, although we're on hiatus for now until season 2. As I mentioned before, the idea of instead of trying to like perfectly strategize what would be a perfect podcast that could like have the right branding and would be beneficial to me, to Praxis and all. So instead of all that, like it must have been 2-3 years ago, I just launched a podcast just personally, like the Isaac Morehouse podcast. I had no theme. I had no ideas. I just wanted to talk to people that were interesting to me. So I started doing that, was doing that for quite a while. And I found that my very good friend and my colleague at Praxis, our education director, TK Coleman, whenever I brought him on the show, I had the most fun and listeners just loved it. I had so many people being like, bring back TK. So then that show sort of morphed into like, it was basically just me and TK by the end, just us talking. And then I kind of realized like I folded that up and realized like and we started, more and more after year 4 of Praxis, working with all the great people we're working with there. And I go and give a lot of talks, and I get a lot of other people, asking me on Quora and all over the place, different questions about life and career things, and TK as well. And TK is really masterful at coaching and helping people with those. And I was like, hey, there's something here. Like, people love it when we do podcasts together. We both get a ton of questions from people on career-related stuff. We're coaching people all the time through Praxis. We've seen a lot of different stuff. Let's just create a podcast centered around, call it office hours, and just centered around people's questions. And so we talk a little bit for a few minutes about whatever's on our mind, and then we usually take about 2 to 3 questions from listeners on things like, how do I ask for a raise at my job? Or, I don't know if I should quit my job and go full time on my side hustle and try to make it happen, or, any kind of career life related stuff. And rather than pretending to be like, experts on a specific industry or on like the 5 tips for nailing an interview, we always try to kind of get down to the fundamental mindset type stuff. How do you approach it? How do you, again, like, start with yourself, free yourself, start to live free, start to get the disciplines and habits in place. And we have a blast. I mean, we're good friends. We have a long history. And so we like to make it fun. But office hours has been great. And it's been really, people have responded really, really well to it. So we wrapped up season 1, and we're going to launch season 2 probably sometime this summer. And we're going to, take anybody who wants to send in questions and things to be considered for that. We'd love it.
Awesome. So I really want to thank you for coming on, and I want to thank you for taking the step to do the things that you've done, because I think nothing is more needed now than a space for those people who are ambitious to feel that that they can have somebody underneath them pushing them forward. It's not like back in the day when, if you were an entrepreneur, you could go to the local town grocer and start working your way up. You know what I mean? It's we live in a different world, and so I'm glad that you're bringing these new solutions, and I'm glad that you're doing it for profit. We were just talking about that earlier. Like, I think that that's an important mindset for us to move forward, that there's no reason that you can't do amazing things in the world and make money at it and keep a sustainable business going. So
I tell you what, that skin in the game is huge. And I worked at a number of nonprofits, good places, good missions, but I knew, like, in many ways it would have been easier to launch nonprofit because I was already good at fundraising for those. But I knew that same thing that bugged me about my experience in college. I want direct accountability. If we're a nonprofit, I'm looking at my donors for money, and then I'm looking at my customers to deliver the product. And if the customers aren't very happy, that doesn't necessarily affect my bottom line, as long as I can tell a good tale to donors. And again, there's nothing like inherently bad about that model, but like immoral or anything. But I just knew, like, if we aren't creating value for the customer sufficient to justify their cost, we should go out of business. I want that accountability. So that was really important to me as well.
Man, it's good. It's great that these ideals are being pushed out, and that they're being pushed out to young folks who can then spread the gospel even further. It's great. So, discoverpraxis.com. Anything else that you would like to send them on the way to? Any other sites or links or any other ways that you'd like people to get in contact with you if they have questions?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look up, any additional stuff, you can go to my personal website, isaacmorehouse.com. But go to discoverpraxis.com, get a flavor for what it's all about. And I'll just leave, listeners with this, especially if you're a young person. Like, anytime you feel like there's something you don't really want to do, but you have to, you have to go to college, you have to graduate, you have to check those statements, because they're not true. You don't have to. There's always a way to jump off the conveyor belt and create your own path that's more unique and tailored to you. It's not going to be easier. It's going to be a lot harder, and you're going to get a lot of judgment and scrutiny. But if you ever feel trapped or like you're doing things because you have to do them, check that and take a chance on yourself. There is a better way. Whether Praxis or something entirely different, there are a lot of alternatives, and you need to optimize your life for living free on your own terms.
I love it. Isaac Morehouse, founder and CEO of Praxis. Guys, go and check out this project. Thank you so much for being on, and we'd love to have you back on again.
Love to come back again, Ben.
Well, then we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Christian, that was great. What a cool project, man. What a cool project.
Yes, dude. Bravo.
Bravo.
Fuck. Great stuff.
Bravo.
Yeah.
$11,000. You know how much more than $11,000?
Oh, millions.
No, literally.
Dude.
Literally millions.
And a lifetime of journey. Like it.
I wish
we were talking about
I wish when I was 17, dude, that would have been exactly what I needed. And I would look, it's not that I'm not happy with where I'm at in my life. I'm ecstatic. And I'm very satisfied with the journey that I went on. But like to get the head start, you know what I mean? It's like it's really cool.
Priceless.
And the coolest part about it is, and this just happens with these shows. Like we don't even try to do this, right? But it always, why does it always tie in? Why does it always tie in? It's funny because this is kind of one of the topics of my talk. It was kind of split into two. Like I did this 25-minute keynote that was like the sort of more information and inspiration, as Isaac said, right? That's really what it was. And then I did an hour later on in the day that was sort of a continuation of the same thing, but it was more specific to like the Free State Project and things happening there. And again, it's like what we keep going back over on the show is like this idea of these core fundamental principles that it's, well, like you were telling me earlier that, you know, you sort of a lot of people get turned off to libertarianism because they think, oh, that libertarian thing, that's about politics. But it's like, no, dude, it's not about politics at all. Even as Isaac was saying, like, this whole thing for the entrepreneurship comes out of a viewpoint of liberty, of individual freedom. Like, it all comes from that because it's a way of living your life, right? And then, of course, as you live your life as a free person, the biggest impediment in general, or the impediment that you always run up against is government, is the state, right? So it's like you look at, my talk was called From the Declaration to Decentralization, Our Place in the Project, right?
Nice.
And you look at the Declaration of Independence, and really what they're saying is they're not saying we disagree with the idea of government per se, but they're like, the whole first thing, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal, endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and that governments are instituted for the purpose of protecting those rights. And that if a government becomes destructive of those ends, that it stops protecting those rights, then it's the people's right to either alter or abolish it. But the whole thing is about like, hey, we just want to live our life.
Yeah.
Like, hey, government, you're impeding on our ability to do good things. And that's really what the message is that it's like, it's just wanting to live a good life. Of course, it becomes political. It becomes political because it's like, well, there's a thief out there, or thieves, violent armed thieves, who are trying to take from and steal from peaceful people who are just, but the whole point is that it's just peaceful people trying to do their things, and they'd be more than happy if the violent thieves were just gone.
One thing too, a lot of people, one thing that I addressed with friends and family members and stuff like that is like, oh, you're the anti-government guy. It's like, no. I'm not the anti-government guy.
Right.
I'm pro-freedom and pro entrepreneurship and pro the things that are going to benefit the world and benefit yourself so you're able to benefit the world. I'm not anti-government, or neither is anything that I put out there on Facebook or anything like that. So.
Well, it's not government, right? Like, and I think that's what people misunderstand. Like, government doesn't even exist. This is something like when people ask me, like, okay, in your book, why do you spend the first quarter talking about collectivism? And the reason I spend the first quarter talking about, and interestingly enough, it's the same reason why it's the first topic that Ludwig von Mises in his book Socialism tackles, is because you first, and it's weird because I had a conversation even at Liberty Forum after my talk. The guy who had spoken before me, by the end he was saying he wasn't a socialist, but he was talking about living on a commune, collective action, anti-capitalism, all of this. And it was interesting that he was speaking there. I don't really know, but he accosted me kind of afterwards, and we started this conversation. And then he kept trying to say, well, if the collective decides, and I was like, stop. Collectives don't decide. If the collective wants to, I said, collectives don't have wants. because collectives don't have brains. Collectives don't have emotions. They don't have bodies. Only human beings have wants. Yeah. Only human beings have desires. So either you're doing one of two things right now. Either you're saying that you're speaking on behalf of the collective, which is a fictitious thing, which means you're discounting the views of all of the other people, or you've reached some sort of consensus on a particular action. But I know human beings. How big is your collective? Because to reach consensus with more than about 5 people on where to even go for dinner is fucking hard. Okay? Like, consensus, that's the reason why we have voting. Because consensus is almost impossible with any mass of people. Right? So it's like getting into all of these ideas that it's like, I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-initiation of violent force. So if you see me say that I'm anti-government, it's not necessarily that. I'm against someone violently, because I don't have the right to violently restrict the ability of another adult individual to peacefully live, to peacefully do X, to peacefully choose the life partner of their choice, to peacefully educate their children in the way they see fit, to peacefully choose what goes into their body, to peacefully grow, possess, and consume plants. I don't have the right to violently restrict them from that. And all men are created equal. Meaning, if I don't have the right, no other person has the right, because our rights are given to us by God, and we're all created equal. So that means we all have the same rights. But what government does is, so for instance, the police claim a police officer because, and only when he's wearing a costume, the special costume with the magical badge, right? In the specially painted car with the specially painted lights, then he has a right to stop me, like I got stopped the other day. This was the craziest one. So now I realize I don't drive down this particular street where they keep stopping me for bullshit because my car, I guess, looks too much like a drug dealer's car. They pulled me over. This is just like last week. I switched lanes. They pulled behind me, threw on the lights and all that. Pulled me over not because I didn't use a turn signal when I switched lanes. They pulled me over because I turned on my turn signal and they said, but you didn't go 100 feet before you switched lanes. Who does that? So it's basically like, no, we just wanted an excuse to pull you over. And then when I refused to roll my windows down all the way, they pulled me out of the car.
Wow.
And it's like, I can't do that to them.
Yeah.
It's not my right to do that to them. So I'm not against government. What I'm for is all men are created equal. Exactly. They're endowed by their creator with certain rights.
Exactly.
Governments are instituted to protect that. And when a government doesn't, then it's also one of the rights that has been given by God is to change or abolish the government. If you will follow those rules, I have no problem with you. The problem I have is with you. It's not with government, because government doesn't exist. It's with you, the person out here that claiming because I'm wearing a fucking costume, I'm not created equal to you. Or I'm created equal, but I become unequal when I put on the magic costume.
Love it. Brilliant. Love it.
Only individuals act. I don't have a problem with government. I have a problem with you. And you have a problem with the Declaration of Independence. And you have a problem with the Constitution of the United States, which you swore an oath to uphold and defend. I don't have a problem with government. I have a problem with you. And if you actually stopped and thought about what the fuck it is you're doing, and you let yourself be educated and had some principles, you'd have a problem with you too. That's it. That's it. And what I'm against is I'm against the indoctrination. I feel just as bad. Look, I look at these. It was 2 cops, 2 relatively young guys, younger than me certainly. like both of them kind of like jacked up, you know, chest puffed out about the whole thing. I'm calm with them, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to play their game. And and in the end, it was like, all right, right? They were probably trying to check and see if I was drunk, right? That's the whole thing. Figuring out we'll get somebody. It's this fucking particular street though, dude. It's like in the hood. And I figured out what the reason why is. It's in the hood, but it's a hood that's close enough to the strip that a tourist could potentially wander into that area, and so they patrol it like crazy. And there's a police station right there. So I'm like, no, I'll take the one street over, and there's never any fucking cops. It's crazy. But it's like, yeah, dude, this is. It's not an anti-government position. It's a philosophical position. And I'm just like, really, don't you prefer to live in a world where all men are created equal and they're endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Like, don't you kind of want to live in that world?
Yeah.
So it should be upsetting when we have the opportunity to live in that world, when we're living in a country that's supposed to be founded on those principles, and yet there's a group of people running around just completely going in the opposite direction. It's like, I think you deserve to be a little upset about it. But at the same time, I think what Isaac said is prime example. I think now we're in a time, and he's right, Uber is a huge example. And fucking the things that we're doing, Cointex, counter markets, baby vodka, govern yourself, right? My coding class, Code from Go. It's like, yeah, what you do is you create the space and you create the businesses and you create the opportunities and you just do it. You just fucking do it.
Yep.
That's the key. Where are we at? 11:55. You have anything to end us off with? If not, it's fine.
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm ready to go because I'm still recovering from my trip. But let me say goodbye to the people. I want to really thank my guest, Isaac Morehouse. Guys, go and check out Praxis, especially those parents out there. This is something to look into and certainly to talk to your kids about, particularly if they're of kind of an entrepreneurial bent. This is the type of thing that I wish would have been around when I was 17 or 18 years old, for sure. So I really want to thank Isaac for coming on and for doing what he's doing. I want to give a huge shout out to all the people in New Hampshire that I met at Liberty Forum and all the people that I didn't get a chance to see there who reached out to me afterwards. I will be there with you guys soon, and maybe we can convince Christian to come along as well. And I want to thank you guys for checking us out, as always, and for being such huge supporters of Liberty. If you want to go and check out Cointext, you can do that at cointext.io. And so maybe you can go and check that out and then be a part of the beta. Let us know what you think, and we'll report that back next week when we're back again at 10 a.m. Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Until then, stay free.